says divorce like a middle-aged white guy with a sweater tucked in. You know, my son called me from college. He said, "Dad, you're not going to believe this. I made the dean's list. I made the honor roll." Can you imagine how I felt getting a call like that? Finding out I've got a son? You know, a friend of mine once said, "Earl, I think a woman with a gun is sexy. Usually for me, it just means the date is over." Don't you hate it when your mom tells you personal things about herself? Things you really don't want to know about? I'm in the backyard in the garden with my mom, and she says, "Earl, this thong underwear sure is comfortable." I'm like, "Mom, that's a hammock." We don't have to use that. My mom and dad are at that age where they're entertained by any little thing. For instance, my dad hung a bird feeder right outside their picture window, so in the morning when they drink their coffee, they'll be entertained by the birds feeding. I said, "Dad, wouldn't it be a lot more entertaining if you just cleaned the glass really good and hung the bird feeder on the inside? Save you a little money on bird feed, too." Yeah. You know, I just got done painting my apartment, and I like that clean, fresh feeling you get when you paint something. You ever gotten into a painting project because you were too lazy to clean? Yeah, I've painted my toilet 3 times now. This is about due for another coat. I'm having a nice time visiting your town. They're putting us up at a real nice country club called Heartland. Found out why Amish people do not water ski. Their horses keep drowning. Guys, have you ever been making love to your wife and the light hits her face in just the right way, that just for a split second she totally looks like her dad? Doesn't make you not want to have sex with her, but oddly enough, it makes him seem a lot more appealing. Do you think our government's a little bit too intrusive in our lives? For instance, you can get a ticket if you drive down the street without a seatbelt on, and you can get a fine if you take a leak in your own front yard. And apparently now, sex has to be consensual. Rules. Remember when you were a kid, you got a flat tire on your bicycle? What'd your dad do? He took a patch, put it over the hole, aired up the tire, and you were on your way. Don't you think that same principle ought to apply for patches they make for people? You want to use that patch to quit smoking? Put it over the hole, it'll be more effective. Want to use that patch for birth control? Put it over the hole, it'll be more effective. Got that patch now made by Ben Gay? Put it over the hole. Actually, there's not a patch to keep you from being gay, but if you are gay, you still might want to put it over the hole to keep you from being sore. Nothing about my act is right. Nothing. You know, when people die, a lot of people like to get creative with their memorial services. Like a lot of people will get cremated, and they'll take their remains and spread them across the mountains. Or they'll take their remains and spread them across the ocean. My plan when I die is I'm going to take my remains and spread them across the White House lawn. Only problem with my plan is I'm not going to be cremated. I'm thinking wood chipper. You know, it's rude to ask a woman if she's pregnant. That's why I always say, "Hey, is that a tumor, or are you just fat?" So I don't want to be rude. Saw an article about a retired federal judge who had Alzheimer's, and he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And I'm thinking, what a bummer. You got Alzheimer's, and the one thing you do remember is where you put the ammo? sir. Everyone else can go. He's a great laugher. He would do fine just by himself. Saw a guy wearing a t-shirt that said, member of the National Alzheimer's Association. And I had to ask myself, I wonder if he knows. You know, I smoke a pipe, and on my box of matches it says, close cover, keep away from children. And I thought, you know what, that's good advice. I am going to keep away from children. Bought some of those biodegradable trash bags that are supposed to start to fall apart within 3 weeks. Yeah, well, my neighbor's dog doesn't think that's fast enough. You know, when a relationship ends, someone always ends up as the good guy, and someone always ends up as the bad guy. I'm just tired of being in relationships where I end up as the defendant. I'm not very good with small talk when I'm about to sleep with a woman. I mean, I always end up saying something awkward like, so, were you born a woman? Because you don't know nowadays. Everything's different. It's crazy. The last woman I slept with, she was a pretty good-sized woman. And I don't know why I was so sexually attracted to her. I guess it's because she kind of reminded me of my little brother. Don't get that way. He's adopted. Why do we still have school zones out there? It's a school. The 3 R's should be, why don't we just teach them how to stay out of the street? The 3 R's should be reading, writing, roads. Stay out of it. If you hit a kid while you're driving through a school zone, you shouldn't get a ticket. That kid should get an F. You flunked. Instead of the flashing yellow lights above the street signs, they need to put little kitty chalk outlines in the street to remind them. In class, this was what's known as a visual aid. I don't think school taxes are fair either. I mean, if you don't have any children, you should not have to pay school taxes. And if you've had 6 children, you should have to pay 6 times the amount of school taxes. And if you've had an abortion, you should get a refund. I don't like work zones either. You seen those signs that say fines double in work zones? I mean, they don't ever give you anything back later on down the road. You're never going to see a sign that says, nothing going on this section of highway, all fines, half off. It's not going to happen. So I asked a friend of mine, do you believe in goats? Because I'm being haunted by one. He said, yes, but don't you mean ghosts? I said, yes, but it's in the shape of a goat. It doesn't say boo, but it does say bah. Which isn't very scary, but it is interesting. Waiting.